So there I was, adventuring and questing through Dark Souls 3, when all of a sudden I met a Pope and he just pummeled me right into the ground and hurt me so much. Praise the Fireball and welcome back, Classic Crew, to another Dark Souls journal where I go through Dark Souls 3 and attempt to kill all the bosses of the base game. We're not talking about DLC, so that is 19 bosses. 10 remain at this point in time, so I am almost halfway through my pledge. And what a productive night the last stream was after leaving the dungeon. So last time I had two ways to go. I could have went up through the Boreal Valley, whatever that town is called, or I could have went through a dungeon, which is where I was. I was in the dungeon, I died to a mimic, and I was like, that's enough. That's enough. I'm done here. So I figured, let's go see what's in the other direction. And I had a lot more, it was a lot more enjoyable to go through the upper parts of the Boreal area because my mindset has changed too. Before I would see rooms with enemies and I always thought, well, now I have to kill everything. I don't know why, but I'd say the last like 40 hours of playing Dark Souls, Dark Souls 1 and 3, I've always told myself I have to kill whatever I see. And finally, I mean, I think this game has been trying to teach me this lesson time and time again, but it finally clicked where I'm like, if I don't need to kill it, I'm not going to kill it. And so my mindset has changed so much that, sure, I will usually fight a new enemy to get a sense of, is it easy to kill or is it easier to run by? And then once I have categorized it, I will either proceed to kill it if I want to explore the area, or if I want to get to my next goal, I will proceed to run past it. And so I'll be sharing a lot more instances of choosing to kill things, choosing to run by things, and it has made my whole experience that much better, specifically in the exploration part and getting around between bosses. So while I was exploring, I have to say, this has been the best comedic timing I've ever seen in Dark Souls, just Dark Souls, the general franchise. I walk into a room, and across the room, there is a dark knight. I think it's a dark knight. Maybe it's a black knight. I don't know. You see the back of it. He's looking at a painting and he's just standing there. He's not patrolling. He's standing there. And the game is basically inviting you to backstab him. And I'm like, that's bait. I know what's going on here. So I'm looking around. I can't quite figure it out. There's even signs on the ground that says there are two of them. And I was like, what are they talking about? So anyways, I'm like, well, the best way to know what a trap is to spring the trap. And so I walk up very slowly and I'm about to backstab him. And then bam, I get backstabbed by an archer that was on the second floor waiting. And I was like, that would usually be a bullshit moment. But the fact that this archer could have shot me before I approached the knight, but only was programmed or chose to shoot me when I was right within backstabbing distance, like that timing, I can appreciate what they did there. And I was like, that is a good trap. That is very well done. That is clever. Props to you. Please don't ever do that again. So the rest of it was pretty much exploring the upper area, trying to make my way to eventually the next boss, which would be the Pontiff Sulyvahn. So exploring, unlocking shortcuts. I'm walking around with my Farron Greatsword, which I have finally upgraded. So I found the white door. And I was like, all right, there's a boss here. So let's see, let's make sure we're ready for the boss. So I went back to base. I leveled up. So at this point, I'm at level 48, which I think is an important thing to share with all of you. My level, something I've never done. And then I was missing one scale to upgrade my Farron sword to, I think, level 2. And chat helped me. They said, oh yeah, if you go back to the cemetery, there's one of those like shiny dragon things that you can go fight. So we did that. And that monster specifically feels like a Monster Hunter monster. It even rolls like a Radoban. It was just a good fight. Like I enjoyed going in, slash, get back. It felt like an easy Monster Hunter fight. So we got our scale, upgraded my Farron Greatsword. So now that enemies that would take 3 hits die in 2 hits, which I'm like, okay, we're getting to the point where these things are getting a little bit less intense. These mobs are a little bit easier to clear, which is good. The knights are still a big pain, like the Silver Knights. So if they're blocking my way, I will kill them, but otherwise I will try to run through them. And so this whole part was pretty enjoyable, just exploring, oh, that's a mob, let's go around, let's see if we can sneak through, this guy will kill, and unlocking shortcuts, and it was a very fun process. And so I'm like, all right, I'm ready, let's go see what's through this door, and my confidence was beaming. It wasn't overconfidence, I'm just like, I feel good about this game. And of course, that's when the game is like, oh, you feel good? Bam, sit down. This thing destroyed me. So Pontiff Sulyvahn, I was like the first thing, I notice is he walks very confidently. So I'm like, okay, he's got a reason to have that walk. And he's walking, I'm like trying to assess him. And then all of a sudden he's like instant transmission sword, like thrust. And I'm like, that caught me off guard. He was way further than I thought. Like he was moving so smooth and slow. I didn't think he would just like propel himself through the room to thrust me. So he did that. He's got two swords. He's got like a fire sword and a blue sword that looks like Sting from Lord of the Rings. And he's got combos for days. So I'm trying my Abyss Watcher strategy of like, all right, let's stand back. Let's see what he's doing. No, you can't. Like if you stand back, he just teleports to you and then you roll away. He's like whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And you roll 5 times. He's still whooshing transport. He's in your face all the time. And I was like, oh my God, how am I gonna, like this literally felt like a wall I could not even see. It just went into the clouds. I couldn't even see where it ends. And I was like, how am I gonna get good enough to get through this? It felt absolutely impossible. Like he moves too fast and he just won't stop with the combos. Like even if I dodge one, he'll get me with the other 2 to 3. And so I noticed that when I'm struggling with like a speed issue, so this was a speed issue, it's usually because I can't maneuver with the great sword. So I'm still with the Farron great sword. I can't maneuver as well. I'm not sure if this is the point where I switched, but at one point in this fight, I switched back to my mercenary blades. Or the cell swords, I'm not sure, the dual blades, because that's what got me through the Abyss Watchers. It's when I finally switched to those because it gives me a little bit more speed to go like cha-cha. So I went back in there and just naturally I stuck a bit closer and was rolling, and chat's like, that's the strategy, you got to stay close to him. And I realized, okay, when you're close to him, he doesn't combo as much, he doesn't teleport because you're right up in his face, and when he does his wind up, you can easily roll through it, get behind him and swoosh swoosh, and then he turns around and tries to get you. You roll through that, swoosh swoosh, and I was like, there it is. The wall is shortening, the wall is smaller. I can do this. This is manageable. And then we get to phase 2, because there's always a phase 2, and he summons a stand, basically like a JoJo reference. Yeah, he's summoning a stand version of himself. By the way, if you haven't checked out my JoJo Journey journal, you should definitely check that out. Still watching part 4. It's a tough one. We're going to talk about that in another video. So he summons another version of himself, and now they're just wailing on me. And I think like it was the shock of just, oh no, it's gonna get harder, and then they're just pounding me more. And again, the wall just went right back through the clouds, and I'm like, how? There's no way I can beat this. There's just no way. Like the strategy I just figured out has just gone out the window because now there's 2 of them that I have to manage. I'm like, how am I gonna do it? So I go back. I'm like, okay, I saw that the ghost thing, the stand, has a life bar. So maybe I can just focus on killing this guy, and then I can get back to my original strategy. So I go and I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I start focusing on the ghost dude. But by doing that, I create distance with the original guy, which gets me back to the original problem of he's just going to combo me to death because I'm far away from him. And I'm like, oh, this ain't going to work. And I was just overwhelmed with like, oh, this is going to take me like 5 streams to get through. This is going to be one of those walls that I won't be able to get through because this game's so hard. And I went at it again, and I honestly believe that I mostly did this through luck. I don't even know what happened. I'm just going to be aggressive. When he summons his stand, I'm just going to like kill him before he kills me. And I just stuck to my strategy. I stuck to him and I was like, swoosh, swoosh. But I was watching more of the other guy, and I was trying to dodge and just avoid the other guy and just keep swoosh, swoosh and dodging his attack. And I don't know how I did it. I won't say it's skill. I'm going to say it's mostly luck, but I killed him. On my 2nd or 3rd attempt with the stand, I got through him. And I can't even say I'm proud of that because I don't feel like I earned it. And I don't want to go back to try again because I'm just like, I beat it. Oh my God. And I got my adrenaline rush. So one of the complaints I had in Dark Souls 1 was these bosses don't give me adrenaline rush. I just feel like, oh, it's finally over, which I still feel, but I'm getting my adrenaline rush. The Abyss Watchers, adrenaline rush. The Pontiff Sulyvahn, adrenaline rush. So I am getting that hit that I was missing from Dark Souls 1, but man, these things are tough. So I get through that, and now I got a whole other area to explore. And again, this is where like I enter a courtyard, and there's just a bunch of giants sleeping. I'm like, well, I'm not going to kill these things. Like, this is where I'm learning. Just run through. So I run through this whole area, and of course, there's like fireballs being launched like in the giant area. I'm like, there's the trap. And I'm just like, nope, just going to keep running. And then there's guards coming out at me, and people call them like the Jon Snows. They're coming at me. I was like, I don't want to fight that. They got like glowy sticks. I'm like, that's probably like death on a stick. And so I'm running and getting making progress through running, and every time I run, I enter another area with more things like black knights with archers and black knights with swords, and I just keep running from one mob to another. You know that scene in Star Wars: A New Hope when Han Solo's running away from the stormtroopers just to run into more stormtroopers? That was me, but like 8 times. And then finally I run into another area where I think I'm safe, and then on the screen it's like, somebody has invaded you. And I was like, oh, come on. So a player comes in, and then I'm just running away. He can run faster than me. He's like punching me and stuff. So I'm like, all right, we just got to make a stand. Like, this is where we got to kill him. So I'm whittling him down. He keeps like Estusing. I'm Estusing. And then I was like, forget it. Like, this is just a battle of attrition. I didn't know that when you invade, they have less Estus than you. So I think they had run out of Estus at this point. I didn't know. Chat told me this after. So I decided to run. And by running, I eventually ran out of places to run. But I did unlock some shortcuts through the running in panic moment, and then I died. But at least I opened the shortcut, so I went back. I wasn't ambered, so now I couldn't be invaded. And I finally explored a little bit until I made it to this twisty tower. And I was like, oh, we're at the top of the valley. This looks beautiful. This like thing is very impressive. And I like start walking towards it. And then the text appears, and it's just like Anor Londo. And I was so confused. I'm like, what? Why are we here? Why? How is Dark Souls 1 and my Dark Souls 3 now? And what? Just what? So I was completely confused. I'm like, oh no, are we doing this part again? And so I go up, and now that I know Anor Londo, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to gun it towards my giant. So I go there, he's dead. So I was like, oh, that's depressing. There's a lot less monsters than Dark Souls 1. So I'm like, all right, that's okay. And it was really cool to like revisit an area that I knew. So I was like, oh, this hall's all done. And we made it to the White Wall. So I was like, all right, here's a boss. And then I go in and I meet Aldrich, the Devourer of Gods, which I didn't even realize was one of the Fire Lords that were hunting. I actually thought Pontiff Sulyvahn was a Fire Lord. Like, I actually went back to my Fireling Shrine. I was like, all right, where do we put this Sulyvahns ashes? And I was like, oh, there's no chair for him. What the heck? Like, he felt like he deserved to be a Fire Lord dude. I forgot what they're called. Lord of Amber or Lord of Ash? Fire? Lord of Fire, maybe? I don't know. So I go back to Aldrich, and I learn eventually Aldrich is the Fire Lord I was looking for. And like just before going into that, I was like, oh no, this is where I fought Smoo and what's his face? Oh my goodness, did I actually forget what that other guy? The Dragoon? Smoo's friend? I forgot his name. I just wiped that out of my memory. And Smoo, well, he smooed me so much, I couldn't forget him. So anyways, we're in that room. I was like, oh boy, what waits for me in here once again? Like, we're back here. I'm just getting like PTSD of this segment. And at first, this one actually never made me feel discouraged. I'm just like, okay, I don't know the attack. I eventually learned it has an AoE. So I learned, okay, you go in, boop, boop, go back, go in, teleports, and it's all about that. Then I eventually learned about the arrows. I was like, oh, you got to get behind. It was such a good boss the mechanics were, this felt like a fair boss where I'm like, okay, that's the mechanic. That's the exploit. I can put it together. This one I stuck to the Farron Greatsword because speed wasn't an issue as much. I just wanted to do a lot of damage when I got my opening. So this one was actually quite good. I died a few times just because I was learning. And then eventually, of course, phase 2. So everything got more intense, and I just kept at it, and I killed it. And I was very kind of shocked and disappointed to learn that I was a Fire Lord, because I think Pontiff Sulyvahn had way more of an impact as a boss and was way more difficult than Aldrich, the Devourer of Gods. So Aldrich was super underwhelming as a boss, and I don't know how they made a boss like that after specifically Pontiff Sulyvahn and even the Abyss Watchers. Like, I think those two bosses were way more iconic than this one. So anyways, we got Aldrich. So now that's 2 out of 4 down of these things that we're trying to get. And then I got enough souls to buy the key to the Derelic Tower back at my Fireling Shrine. And this segment was fun. I really enjoy opening up new parts of a hub in any video game and like exploring new parts of the hub. So this one, I got all the way up, got my Estus ring, got the Firekeeper soul, which I don't really know what it does. I gave it to the Firekeeper, and she's like, great, now we can you can pay me like a ridiculous amount of souls so that I can remove the darkness out of you. I'm like, come on, we've been touching each other's darkness all game, and now you want to remove mine? And that's very expensive. Like, I don't see the value in this. So it was just cool though. I got locked in by some dude, a merchant, and he's like, haha, I'm gonna steal all your stuff. And then I revived and I was like, you're gonna steal who? And then finally I was like, all right, now we're all souped up. Let's go back to the dungeon where we left off last time. This time level 55. So I've leveled up now 7 times. I've also leveled up my weapons a little bit. So I'm like, all right, we can go in here. And I also have my new mindset where like the branding ladies that just kill your health, if they're within reach, I kill them. And if there's a bunch of them, I run past them. So I was balancing more the kill this, run past this, explore part of the dungeon. And it was a lot more smooth. I was in there with my mercenary blade. So the mimic, I could kill mimics like so easily with my dual blades. Cause I'm just like, do, roll, roll, swoosh, roll. It was just good. And so I made it all the way through the dungeon pretty smoothly with a little bit of trial and error. And I made it to surprisingly quickly to my 3rd firekeeper dude, which I really got to learn what the term of these lords are. The Lord of Cinder. That's what they are. Pretty sure that's what they are. So I met my 3rd Lord of Cinder, which is Yhorm the Giant. And upon seeing him, I was like, I love giants. I love big bosses. Bring this one on. And so he's big and he's smashing everything. And I'm rolling. I'm like hacking away at him. And like the amount of health I am taking off this giant is so minuscule. I was like, there is no way that this game expects me to use these weapons to kill this giant. Like that just, after a minute or two of bashing this thing, I was like, there's a hack here. I know there's a hack. We just got to figure out what it is. So I looked at the throne and I saw a shiny and I barely registered what I picked up and I haven't looked. So I went back to my stream and I was like, what was that shiny thing I picked up? So it's something called the Storm Ruler, which I don't know what it is. Like I literally grabbed it and then I had to get out of the way because Yhorm was coming. So the next time I start the stream, I'm going to check out what the Storm Ruler is because I think that could be key to fighting this, whatever it is. And then, so he kept like the pressure on me. I was like, all right, what do I do? So the pillars seemed to be a key because he was smashing the pillars. So I was like, all right, let's just destroy all the pillars. Maybe something's going to fall on him and a weakness is going to open. No, nothing happened. So the next thing I thought of was, well, there are stairs leading up to the throne. Maybe like I have to, so I'm only attacking his ankles. So I was thinking maybe at the stairs, it creates an opening that can hit his head or something. And I think it did to a certain degree. And I think it was doing more damage, but it is not reasonable to expect me to fight that because it's not doing that much more damage and it's not working. So I'm not sure yet. I have not figured out the gimmick to killing this thing. I know there has to be one. My bet is on whatever the Storm Ruler is. Literally don't even know what it is. I don't know if it's an item or a weapon. So we're going to investigate what this thing is next time. And I'm sure that the 3rd Lord of Cinder is going to be dying next week, which is pretty exciting. And by next week, I mean the day this video releases. And then that'll leave me with one more boss. And so after this one, there's 9 left. I know that there's that demon thing on fire. So there are 8 bosses that I don't know about, that I don't know what they are. And then one of them is the final Lord of Cinder. So I'm getting there. I'm progressing way more comfortably in this game than in Dark Souls 1. A lot of the lessons I learned in Dark Souls 1 have carried over here. And it's really cool to have gone, like, to see key pieces from Dark Souls 1, like Anor Londo make an appearance again and be in a different state than it was in Dark Souls 1. So that's kind of like nostalgic for me, even if it's only a few months old. So good progress, feeling better, feeling like I'm understanding the game more. Bosses are terrifying, making my way through them, and looking forward to seeing what the other ones are. I really hope the next 9 are not Pontiff Sulyvahn grade bosses, because those things are just overwhelming with dread and like, how do you fight this thing? So looking forward to what the next few bosses have to offer me. If you want to join me, I stream every Tuesday on Twitch as I progress through Dark Souls 3. So let's see if we can, I doubt I can wrap it up before the end of the year, but let's see what we can do. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next stream or on the next journal. Until next time, Classy Crew, keep it classy.